Hey Sainers, welcome back to the Saints TV YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to jump on a trend. A lot of the AFL YouTubers at the moment are jumping into TierMaker, a really cool website where you can make lists and rankings and groups and categories, which is really cool. But the latest trend is to rank the team list. So I've got a photo of every player on the St Kilda list at the moment. Obviously Jack Hayes, TBC, and Naish and a few others could be on the list by the end of the month. But I've got the current players at the moment, and we're going to rank them from Tier 1 to Tier 5. Obviously Tier 1 being elite, the best players in the team. Tier 2 being the pretty good players in the team, very consistent. Tier 3, you don't know what you're going to get, 50-50. Tier 4... don't get that many games, in Tier 5 either very young and haven't played yet, or players that are kind of slowly on the outer. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm really excited about this. Just before the big Thursday night clash against Carlton at Icon Park. And if you haven't already watched it, I had a chat with Terry from Blue Abroad yesterday, and we talked about both of our clubs and kind of the excitement leading up to Thursday's game. So check that out at another point as well. Let's get into it. Okay, so obviously it's probably easy just to start with Tier 1. And gee, I wonder... God, I mean, everyone talks about we don't have any elite players, do we? The media says we don't have any elite players, so maybe I should just leave Tier 1 blank, But they can get stuff. I'm going to go, obviously. Wow, that was a tough one. Tough start. Jack Steele, obviously Tier 1. For me, he is our most influential, important player, whatever you want to label him. He is an absolute gun of the competition. And hopefully in the next couple of years, he can take us to the promised land. If we go through the rest here, Tier 1, I'm going to also put in that category. Where are you? Where's the mullet? Jack Sinclair, absolutely for me, I think he's Tier 1. I think he's critical in our run and our ball use, and a very, very important player overall. In terms of the tall man department, Rowan Marshall for me is Tier 1. I think he's borderline elite, and hopefully in the next couple of years will become that number one ruckman when Paddy retires, and takes the mantle there. From there, it kind of becomes tricky. Gresham could be Tier 1, but obviously he's returning from injury, so I'm going to go Gresham Tier 2, Brad Hill Tier 2. I think we're going to have a lot of Tier 2 players. I'm almost going to go... I kind of want to put Tim Membry, I'm going to go Tier 1, I reckon. Mr. Consistent. Zach Jones, Tier 2. There's going to be a lot of Tier 2s. Dan Butler's Tier 2, I think. Doogs, where's Doogs? JB's Tier 2. Kingy. Does he go Tier 1 straight off the bat, or is he Tier 2? Because Tier 1's guns. Players you can't miss. Nah, I'm going to go Maxi Tier 1. Yep. Doogs. I'm going to go Doogs Tier 1. But if I go Doogs Tier 1, does that mean Kel Wilkie goes Tier 1? It's a tough one. Because you've got Steele, Sinks, Rowe, Membry, King, Doogs. They're kind of the key lines, centre, ruck, forward, back. I'm just going to leave Tier 1 for the moment. I'm going to go Tier 3 to me is Mason Wood. Battle probably goes Tier 3. Just because he's, we kind of don't know where he's playing. He's going to play more backline now, so that helps. Kel Wilkie, obviously Tier 2. Although I could put him Tier 1. He's so good, I just don't want to put everyone in Tier 1 because I feel like that's just kind of defeats the whole purpose of this thing. Jack Higgins, Tier 2. Dan Butler, currently on forms, probably tier 3, maybe. I mean, we're going to put the boys that are yet to debut. Tier 5. Both academy boys. Ben Long probably goes tier 3 or tier 4. I'll go tier 3. Jeez, I'm not leaving much in the way of... Do they go tier 4? Hunter Clark's probably tier 3 at the moment, but we really want him to start jumping up. Actually, no, I'm going to go Butler, tier 3, and I'm going to put Clark there. Ben Patton returning. Tier 2, tier 3. This is actually a lot harder doing it on the fly. I'm kind of thinking this through as much as I can. Seb Ross is tier 3 at the moment. For me, I think he could drop and not play, obviously, Machito Owens. Paddy's got to be tier 1. Sharman, tier 3 only because it's a very small sample size, but obviously he'll move up. Campbell, tier 4. I think Koss, tier 3 as well. Geary, tier 4. Hannah's tier 4. So they just don't play. And Geary's towards the end of his career. Campbell, obviously, depending on how rucks go, may not play a lot. Hannah's just doesn't have the sample size on the board because of his injuries. Oscar Adams, Jimmy Webster, probably tier 2, I'd reckon. Dan McKenzie. Dan McKenzie's a weird one because it could be tier 2. He's probably tier 3. Just because he's not the most talented guy in the park, but he gets the job done. And if you look at the level of tier 3, they're pretty solid. You've got Ben Long, Butler, Ross, Sharman, Koff, McKenzie. They're all pretty important players for us. Bytel, I think he's probably tier 3 at the moment. Winhager, tier 5. Crouch, tier 2. Joyce is definitely probably tier 4 at the moment, just because he's kind of down the pecking order. Allison, small sample size or none at the moment. Highmore's tier 3. I'd say Burns is tier 3 as well. Heath, Connolly's tier 4. Kent's tier 4. Patton, probably tier 2 in terms of importance. Like, based on 2020, and that's the last time we saw him play, he was right up there. So, I don't know, guys. I feel like I've missed a few here. I think tier 3 is probably too stacked. Steele, Sinks, Rowe, Membry, King, Dukes, Paddy. Tier 1. Maybe Wilkie goes there. I mean, we talk about it all the time, how good Wilkie is, and he's just underrated. He's tier 1 for us, you know. Gresh, Hill, Jones, Billings, Clark, Higgins, Webster, Crouch, Patton. That seems pretty good for tier 2. I mean, Butler could be tier 2, but right now, based on form and what I saw in the intra-club, still probably that small level down. And Higgins got that spot covered. So does Gresh. Tier 4, Campbell, Geary, Hannahs, Joyce, Connolly, although he'll climb. And Kent, tier 5, obviously everyone that hasn't really played yet based on inexperience and the lack of exposure at AFL level. It's not bad. If you look at it, this really does summarize our list when we talk about it, isn't it? Is that, you know, we've got our absolute top liner is Jack Steele. The rest here are probably not at absolute elite level, but they all have the capacity to become elite. Tim Membry, I don't think he'll ever be that elite player, but based on his consistency, he's very consistent, you know, and to me that makes him a tier 1 player. It's not just how good you are, it's how how often you're good, and he's good often. Max King, obviously, his ceiling is enormous. Dougal Howard, in terms of importance, right up there as our best fullback. Paddy Ryder is just one of the most crafty ruckmen in the comp. And Kel Wilkie is our best medium-sized defender. Now, in terms of this year and what we need to happen for us to become a top 8, top 4 team, is for guys like Gresh to climb into Tier 1, Hill to play his absolute heart out. Whether that gets him in Tier 1, we don't know. Zach Jones has the full capacity to become a Tier 1 player. Billings just needs to be consistent. Clark could go to Tier 1. Higgins could go to Tier 1. Webster is just a very, very good player. Crouch the same, probably won't ever hit Tier 1, but he's very good. And Patton is our best small defender with Webster. And then Tier 3, Mason Wood, you know what you're going to get from him, and he tries hard. Same with Battle, although Battle could go to Tier 2 depending on how good he goes in the back line. Ben Long, you know what you're going to get, although sometimes he can drop to Tier 4 with his performances. Dan Butler has the capability of becoming a Tier 2, Tier 1 player. Seb Ross was in that bracket maybe 4 years ago. Obviously now with competition, it's going to be tough for him to climb. Sharman absolutely can climb to that top 1 and 2. Caulfield the same, although injured. McKenzie, workmanlike, just gets the job done for us and doesn't really matter what tier he's in. We just know what you're going to get from him. Bytel can climb up. Burns can climb up. Highmore can climb up. There's a lot of players that can go up a level, and that's where that excitement is. So I'm not surprised that we've got most in the Tier 3 category. Tier 5 is just because they haven't played, although you know that players like Wanganeen can climb all the way to the top. Mitch Owens has got a high ceiling. Winhager as well. Max Heath yet to debut. Allison yet to debut. Oscar Adams, we don't know. And then obviously Paris and Kyle, we don't know as well. But they look exciting, and all of these can climb up there. And this shows, I guess, the age bracket. We're not an old team despite what people think. We've got Campbell, Geary, Hannahs as kind of the older boys, and they're all Tier 4, probably not locked into our best 22 and never will be. Although Hannahs, you don't know, depending on how his injuries go and his form goes when he actually plays. Could still be a very important player for us. And then in this next tier, most of them are young. And then you've got all of these guys in that prime age. Max King being the youngest, prime age, as well as Paddy, who's towards the end of his career, but still handles it very well. And then all of these guys could hit their prime in the next year or two. You know, Brad Hill's probably at that age where he might be on the edge of past that age bracket where they talk about being in your prime. But, you know, Gresh 24, 26, I think, 25, 23 or 22, I think. Higgins is 22. Webster's, I think, 26, 27. Crouch the same. And Pato is still pretty young. So there's a lot of growth in the next 3 to 4 years based on what I see here. And it makes me optimistic about this year too. So I think that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. Obviously, this is just my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Leave comments, and I'll save this TierMaker, and I think you'll be able to jump on and make your own and share it on the Saints TV channels. And I'm really keen to see what you guys think. Some people might have Sharman in Tier 1 already, but I'm just kind of, you know, trying to judge it based on how much I've seen of the player, how many games they've played, how consistent they've been, and all of those sort of things. So that kind of comes into consideration for me. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys. Obviously, this can change depending on how we go on Thursday against Carlton, and then against Essendon in the Community Series game, and then obviously leading into round 1. So there's a lot still to uncover in the next couple of weeks in terms of training and practice matches. But based on my gut feel right now, this is kind of where I see our list. And I think that it's exciting to have Tier 2 and Tier 3 being the bulk of the players. And the majority of them aren't going to decline at this point. A lot of them have the opportunity to go up to Tier 2, Tier 1, and become really important players for the club. So I think, from what I can see, really good, a really good spread. You know, there's not too many in either category, and that's kind of what everyone reviews the club at. You know, we've got a balanced squad, a lot of potential for players to become guns and to become really important players in the best 22. So I'll leave it there, guys. Appreciate you watching the video and supporting the channel. Quick plug for the channel. If you're watching this and you're a Saints fan and you enjoy the content and love hearing me talk about the club, please hit the subscribe button. We're nearly on 3,000 subs. It'd be great to get close to around 4,000 by round 1, which I know is pretty ambitious, but with your help, I reckon we can get there. And I'll be back on Thursday for a live review post-game against Carlton. So hopefully I'll get to see you then on the live. But until then, guys, take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as always, go you mighty Sainers. See you guys.